Today on episode 204, we are talking about emotional damage during seasonal dating.
Every bit of that is wrong, Amber.
Well, let's go and dig in.
I mean, but we look very smart with our glasses on, and it's not because we're super wise. It's because we're old. And eventually, yeah.
It goes. And we've been on a computer all morning.
Ain't
You
that
need
the
your
truth?
second pair of eyes. All right. So seasonal dating. Dun, dun, dun. Something I think that none of us really look forward to. I know I don't, because, between trying to figure out if I want to cuddle up with somebody and Christmas list, like which is more important. I just bought a few things this morning, so that's come down a little bit, but now it's
She means from
now
her
the
Christmas
bills.
list, not from her cuddle list. She's not like, all right, got that one done. Next.
Yeah, no, I bought a pair of Rihanna's Fenty Savage onesies. It was like a new customer deal. So I bought a pair for me and my daughter. Those are the best cuddle buddies ever. They're so warm and comfy and super soft. I highly recommend it to anybody. I just might go ahead and order the black and purple pair. I'm just saying.
For the record, something that's super cuddly and super soft are only descriptions that you want for clothing. It doesn't always work with people. They're so super cuddly and so super soft. Oh, you're unsatisfied? Yeah, he's not very good at what he does. Like you got to know the context of what you're talking about there.
Cameron didn't mind. He didn't mind if I shaved or not. I could be a prickly pear or a soft peach. He wasn't tripping. But how are people like that nowadays? Who knows? Because everybody is emotionally damaged. So we don't know.
And speaking of emotional damage, so last episode was the Cheesecake Factory lady. And initially Amber wanted to talk about that again. Because she found a video of the couple actually sitting in the same room, literally right beside each other, being interviewed. And I somewhat vetoed that for right now, because I don't have the emotional capacity to go down that rabbit hole right now.
Already needs more time.
That I need more time, because that whole thing has been living rent-free in my head, and I don't like it. Just every bit of that has, as I think about it, like it randomly comes up. I could be doing something, of a sudden she wouldn't get out of the damn car, and I get all pissed off again, and I'm like, this can't be this. I'm not ready to talk about this yet. I don't have the emotional wherewithal to not lose my ever-loving mind. So we're going to talk about it next time, mostly because I don't have any plans the next recording at this point, so I can kind of recover at my own pace. Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
It's gonna be fun.
So today, though, as Amber said, we're going to talk about seasonal dating. Or I think we should call it seasonal dating disorder, but that's just me. And why that is probably not the best idea for you to consider. But I'll let Amber do a bit more of an intro before we jump into the question I have from the beginning already.
I really don't know how to intro this. I think it's just something that we should probably just dive right on into, because there's really no soft landing for it. I feel as though this is something that you need to be aware of yourself, where you're at in life, especially emotionally with the holidays and all, and be honest with yourself. Like, is this something that you're doing because you're feeling lonely and you're just trying to keep up with Hallmark? Or are you doing this because you are really prepared and wanting to find a solid, healthy relationship? So, I mean, given our audience and who we focus on, we want to give the best advice and the most heartfelt, not information, I guess I was kind of backwards, but the most heartfelt advice to those coming into the holidays, especially for those who are in their first year, second year, because those can always be the hardest. Those are the times where we're most blinded. And let's face it, we are a big target for scammers, especially during this
Okay,
time of the year.
that's literally what I just typed as my note. So just as a reminder to people, if I'm looking off to the side, I'm not like ignoring Amber. I have notes of things I've typed up over here. I
Even though
can't be
he's
bothered.
listening.
I can't be bothered. I'm either writing notes or typing. Fuck off. Um, but I wanted to start the conversation, I think, and that was where I was going to go, was the targeted people reality of this. Because as widowed people, most of us, if we haven't had the experience, congratulations, I'm glad you haven't. But many of us have had the experience where scammers seem to have a target for widowed people, and to actively pursue us. I know within our, the administrative group for the Just Widowed Facebook page, the amount of times, what we have to do to try to make sure that scammers don't get in is pretty obscene. I mean, if you think about what we do, it's pretty obscene. The fact that I end up doing a bit of a deep dive on whoever applies. I spend about an hour digging into, okay, what groups do we have in common? Where does it say they're from? When did their loved one pass away? And so I go looking for an obituary. Why? Because scammers know that we are easy prey. And scammers know to play on emotions. No matter the season, they know emotions are what gets them their money. This seasonal time, especially from November until the beginning of April, are highly emotional times, especially if
Yeah.
you live in cold climates.
Yeah.
So what's one of the other reasons I think we wanted to talk about this is to make sure that as targeted people, you are very mindful of the fact that, yes, it's completely unfair that you may have to ask some extra questions and do some extra digging. It's absolutely reprehensible that somebody is targeting you. It's also the reality of what you face right now. And so we want to make sure we have that conversation. So let's start with this. Amber, you live in a particularly sunny area of the world, where the sun tends to either go from napalm level heat to slightly boiling water, somewhere in that range, depending on the time of year. What?
Yeah, sometimes the devil's asshole is in my front door.
Uh-huh. And sometimes it's in your room, but that's because your kids and
Sometimes.
my kids, just because kids do kids things. Uh have you seen seasonal affective disorder play out in your area, even with sunny times? And if so, how have you seen that play?
Oh yeah, I've seen it everywhere. I mean, I lived in California, I lived here in Arizona, I've lived in Colorado, so I've kind of seen both sides of it. And I think it does strike up a little bit more during the colder time, just because people are inside a little bit more. We want the hearty foods, we want to keep our insides warm, the whole cuddling and movies and whatever it is, hanging out, family time. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially in our society, like around these times, like you said, between November and January is family time. January to April is here comes that lovey-dovey season right after the cuddle season. So it's kind of like this endless amount of time of just money and love and lust and this and temptation and whatever else comes along with it is just thrown out there. And where I'm at right now, like, yeah, we get Satan's asshole out our front door, but it's also snows too. So we have like the ski resorts near us and whatnot. I'm 30 minutes from Sedona. So it's already kind of like a romantic, spiritual place where I live. So when you add loneliness on top of all that, and you see these couples out here doing their little family weekend getaways or the romantic trips, it's like, maybe I want that. Maybe I want to cuddle with somebody. And what happens is, unfortunately, the first person comes around to throw a couple couple caring words at you and make you feel like, oh my God, this person sees me and knows me, all of a sudden you want to sit here and plan a whole life with this person. And in reality, that person really has nowhere to go and just wants to be in your home. Or that person has no food and they got a backpack full of clothes and they're just trying to move into your house until February comes around, and then they're done wasting your taxes, right? Because you got cuddle season, you got tax season, then you got lovey-dovey season. It's not a great lineup for some of us, like right away. You know what I mean? It kind of sets some people up. And if you are, and this is not to say anything negative, everybody is on their own grieving path, and it takes everybody their own time to heal. But if you are emotionally damaged and you just haven't been made self-aware of that, like let's say for instance our widowed community, obviously we're pretty fucking damaged and fucked up right away. Any traumatic situation you go through in life, you're gonna have some emotional fucking traumatic effect from it. Now the thing is though, are you working through that, or are you just trying to push it under the rug? Because if you're not going to pay attention to that, that's where those scammers start popping out. And here's the thing though, it's almost as though we leak like a smell. Like, and this is gonna sound really bad, but and hopefully Lee can reword my words here so y'all understand what I'm trying to say.
As your press agent, I'm ready.
I know you got me. I know. Look at him already.
Very nervous.
It's almost as though it's not so, and I think this is going to be the wrong, hold on. I think this is going to be the wrong word, but I think it's large enough to give the reality and expectation just to kind of snap on that light bulb. I feel as though, and I've done it, we almost leak out this smell of loneliness and desperation. It's not that we're doing it on purpose, like, oh my God, I just need somebody. But when we're in that mindset and we're allowing ourselves to feel those emotions of wanting to have a relationship, wanting to have a cuddle buddy, wanting to get your freaky link or linky dink, whatever the fuck they're calling them these days, you send that out there and that's what you're going to attract. But unfortunately, those scammers are going to be the ones that smell that shit first. And they're not going to see it as, oh my God, this person really wants to love and have a happy life. They see it as they're fucking desperate. Maybe they got some money. Let me go see what I can get from them. And that's where we want to stop. Hopefully you can reword that.
So I actually did, again, it's a little creepy because I literally wrote, as you were starting into that, I said the pheromone of loneliness. And I think what that does, and I think that's actually a pretty apt description. I think I can piggyback with that pretty well, because loneliness is an act of fear. Whenever we're lonely, it is a part of fear. Just like if you think about it this way, if you sit down for dinner, rarely do you have one thing. You have many parts of your dinner that form your dinner. Fear takes its form in many different ways. And one of the ways fear takes form is in loneliness. Because inevitably when you're lonely, you start wondering, will I ever be loved again? Am I able to be loved again? Am I able to love again? Will I die alone? All the things that from a cultural standpoint we have identified as being important usually come about because of a relationship, which leads to a random aside I want to pop in here. And I know I'm going to get some heat for this, but I'll take it. Hallmark is evil. I'll come back to that later. Coming back to this point, if whenever your body needs something, it's going to have a reaction. It just does. If somebody is diabetic, my wife was diabetic, I could often smell when her sugar wasn't lined up. There are dogs that are trained to be able to smell low blood sugars on people before the people notice them. So there is something going on with our bodies, that our pheromones and our bodies do change up. Now, in that pheromone of loneliness, that's not scientific. I can't say this study from Harvard or Yale or any of the people who know what the hell they're doing point this out. There is something to be said, though, about when you're lonely, you are afraid. And when you make decisions out of fear, You make decisions that you often regret. And that's the concern I think we have for many of us, and that I have for many of us in our group, because nobody wants to wake up and go, God, so glad I'm alone today. I'm so glad they died. Oh, that was wonderful. We want that person beside us. That's what we assumed our life would be. And it is important to be able to say to ourselves, I want that, but right now I don't have it. Okay. Now what do I do? And seasonal affective disorder is a legitimate thing. Do not let somebody poo-poo that down. Do not let somebody squash that down. Do not let somebody say, oh, you just need to try harder for a religious community. Don't let say, oh, you need to pray more, or you need to get right with God. That's not how depression works. That's not how these things work. So please don't succumb to that. And if you tend to be somebody who believes that and you want to debate me on that, I'll gladly have a conversation with you. Especially from a religious standpoint. But if it be honest about this, because at this point, if you're thinking about relationships, you are doing what we all do when we learn. When we learn anything new, we often think of it goes, you go from point A to point B. Except that's not how it goes. Studies have shown very clearly that's not how we learn. When we learn something new, we start to kind of apply it to everything, and it makes sense. Everything goes great and everything's wonderful, and we understand. But then we start to have questions, and the learning doesn't quite seem to fit. But then we challenge it and we grow from it and we work with it. But then it starts to take hold and we understand, oh, that's what's going on. And that leads to another learning that then goes up here and a bit. So it's like a bunch of curlicues. So it looks like sometimes you're backtracking, but you are still going forward from where you were back here. That's what's going on in your grief as well, too. If you are actively trying to do something about it. And what does that mean? Well, that's another conversation as well, too. But please recognize seasonal depression and seasonal affective disorder, they are very real things. You know, while the term emotional damage, which I, as a bald, middle-aged white man, can't even begin to do that accent, that voice without being incredibly inappropriate sounding. I'm glad that guy has made a career out of that, because that man made money doing that. Congratulations, bud.
I
I am
know, right?
impressed.
We just need
That
one catchphrase. Just one catchphrase.
one. Yeah, well, and even that chick who had "Catch Me Outside," how about that? You
Oh
know,
Lord.
that, see, but we all know who that. But that's, to those who did it, I don't fault them. They've
No.
made something out of it. Have it. I might not get it. I might think it's stupid and flimsy. They made money out of it. Whatever. So then the question is, well, how do you combat that? But I see Amber has written down some notes, which I'm intrigued by, because initially she didn't write notes when we started these podcasts, but because of being in my presence, no, it's not that. She's just
I'm typically a note taker, but when I have conversations, I like to be in it. I feel like I kind of lose some stuff, but there was a couple of things in there that you said. I just feel like we're gonna definitely have to have another conversation about, you said it, actively trying to, and all my brain remember was process. But I remember the way you said it, it was just you have to be honest with yourself, and what does that look like? So I think that's definitely a conversation that we need to talk about. And I mean, we could definitely speak on it in this scenario, but we can dive into it a lot deeper. Let's peel back those layers on that.
And if we talk about that, which I think we could probably talk about it here too, before we dive into that, there's one other point I want to make sure I make. And I also will get back to the Hallmark is evil. We'll get to that one in a little bit. There is a national hotline that if the season is, if you are having any kind of mental health issues, any kind of suicidal ideations, any of those struggles, here in America, the number is 988. I know we have people in the UK. I believe the UK has a service as well too, and I believe other countries have their own. Please if you are feeling to where that's coming about because this season of everybody else being happy, of everybody else seeming to be excited, and you feel like you're not, and that wears on you, and you feel as though there's no point, please, there is a point. You matter. You are important. I'm not going to tell you the pain gets better. I can't, I don't know what your pain is, but I can tell you, we want to have you here. We want to keep you here as long as we can. And if you aren't able to reach out to somebody locally because you're afraid of whatever, please dial 988. They will help you. They will help you, because that's important to know. And in fact, I'm going to put some stuff up on this particular episode as well too, to make sure it's easier. Anywhere I can get that out, I want to get that out. 988, please do. And especially in this time of year, 988 is the way to go. Which then leads into the actively doing something about it. So let me share a bit of a conversation as well too that's going on sidelong to this. Like in my life, there's a couple people I'm just having conversations with, and they are people who, if we were physically in the same proximity, we probably would try dating. However, because we're not, it's not a reasonable reality. But instead of that, I have made it a point to get to know the person, to share, more. The way I worded it is, I want to be your friend before we're anything else. Right. And to me, that is actively working at it. Like I tend to be more deliberate and intentional. And I'm not saying romance is dead. I'm not saying you can't have those spontaneous things that just work. I'm sure they exist. They just haven't been my experience. And so if there's somebody I'm talking to and I'm like, well, we can't physically push this along, it's just not going to work, because you have kids, you're in another part of the world that I am, but we can still talk with one another. We can still hang out this way and get to know one another and be alongside one another in the various journeys we have. To me, that's an active way of making sure I don't just randomly find somebody to be with in a season just so I don't feel lonely for a season. Because it's kind of like getting drunk to numb the pain. The pain doesn't go away. It's just there when you sober up, except you're hungover as well too, and you've probably done more damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what happens when that season's over and you're tired of that person? You really don't even like that person.
Mm-mm. Yeah, you wake
the
up
whole
and you go,
time
God.
it was, the whole time it was just as simple as just because there was a body there.
Mm-hmm. And there may be a place to say that I'm with that person for a season of our lives, meaning, I didn't really think it was going to be a long-term relationship, but I was like, you know what? No, we're enjoying hanging out, being with each other. I'm okay with that, because to me, that's aware of what it is you're stepping into. Like, you're not building necessarily a relationship. You are spending time together. And
just in that situation, I think that can get sticky. You have to be very honest in that situation, because if you're only telling yourself that and those are your intentions, you know that you don't plan on really taking that anywhere with that person. But what if that person is in their season, like, I want to keep this going, I want to see if we can take this farther and really create something strong out of it, and you're like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna go enjoy the summertime now. Like, what do you do then?
And this is where the other part of that, I think, comes into it as well too. And I think I've said this in other episodes. If I haven't, I'll say it now, because it's a adage I go by. Whatever relationship somebody is in, so long as everybody involved is of legal age and consenting, I could give a shit. You do your thing. So if you're with somebody and it's going to be just a season and that's it, it's fair to yourself and to them to share that. But what if it hurts them? It's going to hurt them even if you suddenly dump them.
Yeah.
Right.
Let them know up front.
Right. Now, I'm not saying it's like, like the Ryan Reynolds movie with him and Sandra Bullock, where, he pretends to be your girlfriend and suddenly they fall in love. Hallmark is evil. We'll get back to that again in a little bit.
Was it like Date My Boss or something like that?
It was something like that. She was his boss. I'm sure somebody's going, oh, it's
He went
this.
to
Put it in the
Alaska for
comments.
his family thing. Yeah.
Right. I think Betty White's in there. Betty White's a fucking legend. So I digress.
Yeah, of course.
Oh God, I love that woman. So feel free to put in the comments and say, Lee, you're an idiot. Here's the name of it. I think it might be called The Proposal, but don't quote me on that.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Don't see, this is really random information that's stuck in my head. Meanwhile, I forget my son has a doctor appointment at one point. I thought it was another day, and it wasn't, but The Proposal from whenever. Fucking brains. I digress. But communication with that person and also with yourself are absolutely vital. To me, that's actively working on your loneliness. That's actively working on the core of what's going on. So whenever I tell you, you need to work on it, what am I talking about? If you're in a relationship, communication's working on it. And even if it's, hey, let's do a short-term thing. Cool. But be honest. Be honest to yourself, be honest to the person.
Yeah, because you can't be honest to that person if you're not gonna be honest with yourself first, right? So like, and this is my experience in this whole dating, because since Cameron's died, I'm in like almost 2.5 years out now. So I've been kind of going back and forth with, okay, what would it look like? What would it feel like if I were to date again? What kind of relationship do I want? And then I go down YouTube rabbit holes, and then I talk to people throughout the day, and I'm just like, relationships are not for me. I'm okay. You guys are being weird. I'll just stay to myself and create communities and build, companionships with other people and whatnot, and just build friendships, and network or whatever. And I'm okay with that. And I've come to a point in my life, and it to change. I'm only 36 years old. Shit changes daily, but right now I'm at a point where if I don't have a relationship, I'm okay. I have a lot of loving people in my life. I have wonderful people in my life. There's going to be more that come and go. And then if I do end up with if I have a relationship, and I know that man will have done the work he needs to do on himself to put him in a place where our relationship is healthy on both ends, where he's not dependent on me for everything or trying to trauma bond with me or anything like that. But even now, like you say, and you have me thinking, and I'll just be honest about this, because gotta be honest with ourselves. I actually have a crush on somebody, and I didn't think I would. And is not anything like 6 years ago, 8 years ago, before I met my husband. Like, he's the type of guy I would have never turned a second eye to. I would have never looked at him twice. We would have just been talking. It would have just been another person. But talking to him, it's comfortable. It's fun. It's exciting. And as I go through it, and I'm like, I find myself having, whoa, slow your roll. I know, like, you're in a little lusty feels right now, and it's like, I'm aware of that. And when I stop myself, I'm like, okay, yes, that could be exciting. Yes, you guys could do this, because my thing right now, all I want to do with this man is cuddle up on the couch with some fucking snacks, a bunch of good weed, and watch some Disney movies. Like, that's all I want to do with this man right now. But I know, for me, if we were to like talk about that right now, I would freak the fuck out and be like, no, I need my space. And we've had this conversation of where we are in wanting relationships, and without fully telling him, I've expressed to him, I am good with where I'm at right now, being single, because it's been so long. So I'm learning my independence again. I'm relearning who I am and growing a whole new aspect of myself that I didn't have 2 years ago, that I didn't have 4 years ago. So it's like, and the same in return, he expressed to me, like, he's okay with where he's at. Would it be nice to have somebody to come home to at the end of the day? Would it be nice to go to dinner with somebody? Would it be nice to get off of work and call and be like, hey, how's your day? You want to hang out for a bit? Fuck yeah, that would be great. It would be great. Everybody wants that companionship. Everybody wants that love. We are humans of nature. We just want, well, obviously we're humans of nature, but we are creatures of
I'm synthetic.
What's the word I'm looking for? Um we're I feel like we're creatures of love. Like we need that interaction with other humans. We are not meant to be alone. And I think there's been
Companionship is a huge element of the human experience, and throughout
yeah,
all of human history, no matter the time, companionship and procreation do have almost a base level to it. And so what we're talking about here is, of course, a step beyond that, but we recognize, and it's very easy to get that instinct confused of, I want to be with somebody because I feel like I have to be, as opposed, because I need to be protected. Well, that's kind of, as one person put it, that's the lizard brain at work. That's the pure basic survival side at work. And again, survival is not meant to be a long-term experience. Survival is an emergency situation that you are able to step out of. And then, at some point you're able to be done with it, which then allows you to grow because of
oh
it.
my God, it does. And I think Lisa Hannawall, one of our amazing admins, because I was living in fucking survival mode for the longest, not knowing it. And she hella helped me break that. And life has been just soaring since then. So take it from somebody in that you don't want to lay in that. You do not want to sit in that.
Yeah, there's no good aspect of what comes along. And you brought up the idea about, because of the crisis that we've all experienced, that one unifying event of our lives that we all are part of, we have to relearn who we are. And so we kind of do two things. We start with, who was I when I met this person? So it's like, well, I'll just go back and do that again. It worked once. Well, you can't. You can't go back and do that again. If for no other reason, you've got extra miles on you, honey, you can't do it. You can't sell a car as new when it's got a few miles on the tires. But to the second point of that, you also know what was not a good part of dating. And so you're like, I don't want to do that again. That was not a good thing. So as you relearn what it means to be yourself, you have to relearn what it means to date as well, too. And how do you do that? And again, I come back to this term of communication. Now, does that mean on the first date, you tell a person, here's exactly what I'm looking for? I would say no. I would caution you from that. But for some people, I know that it's like, oh, I got to know that we're on the same page because I'm looking for something now. I'm glad you're looking. Calm the
Don't lay
fuck
out your
down.
whole deck. Don't lay out your whole deck at once.
Deck. She said deck. DECK. Just so we're clear that,
or your
if you have,
DICK. Don't lay either one out, right?
I'm looking for, excuse me while I whip this out. That's right. I just quoted Blazing Saddles.
I'm like, I know that has to be for something, but it's also real life. I know this has happened.
Yes.
I know it has. I know it has. Like, you men are just weird. I'm sorry, but you guys are just weird.
Hang on. You're
Women
right.
are fucking psycho, but y'all are
weird.
That we all have our vices. Like, we're, as humans, none of us are fucking perfect. And this whole thing of people searching for this perfection, the reason why shit is going the way it's going to south and it's going south is because people, I feel, and this is my own personal opinion, everybody is out here looking for a level of perfection that just does not exist. It's something that you have to create. It's something you have to build. Everybody has this, oh, this is the perfect person in my mind. You're not going to find that person. That person does not exist. For fuck's sake, you're not even that person. So for you to expect something grand.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You calm
too.
down.
It's just that these unrealistic expectations people have. Like, everybody wants to have this fucking garden, but they want their fruit tomorrow morning. You have to plant your seeds. You have to fucking mend the garden. You have to take care of the shit.
Stop.
It's the same for everything. Use that metaphor for everything in life. It's fucking true.
I'm gonna plant the seed. No, Amber, don't say that to men. Nothing good's gonna happen there. Let me
yeah, men, stop planting seeds, okay? Stop planting fucking seeds and not taking
women,
care
stop
of
tilling the garden. No.
Women, stop tilling the garden. Y'all close the fucking gates and y'all shut down the fucking stores, whatever. Shut it down.
I had somebody put it this way. Do you know why the grass is greener on the other side? Because they put more fertilizer down.
Stop with the fertilizer.
Isn't that true enough? Like, yeah.
Stop opening the fucking gates to the gardens.
So that then gets to the, again, you know, if people are just wanting that physical intimacy, dude, which, side note, I'm a weird person. I know I am. I own it. There's a part of me. I know, right? Normally I'm so normal.
Never would have guessed.
Subdued, restrained. I like to read like I'm an ASMR video person.
I thought you were a normal guy.
The dating experience by Psychology Today suggests that it instructs women on the changes they need to make to go from doormat to dream girl. I digress. Yeah. There's this idea, and I think you're spot on with the idea about perfection. And what's ironic to me is that when I see somebody striving so much for perfection, what I don't see is somebody being perfect. I see somebody who's a control freak. And while we are all control freaks to one degree or another, and that's part of autonomy as a human, when somebody tries to control every single aspect of their lives and their image so they look a certain way, so they are perceived a certain way, why do they need to do that much work to be perceived that way? If it's who they are at their core, it will shine through. If somebody has to go to great lengths to look good,
yeah,
why?
Because it goes back to fear. It goes back to the fear that you were talking about. What do you so because and you made a perfect fucking point right there. If you were out here and you were this perfect person, why do you have to put so much emphasis on it? Why do you have to go like we were just talking about before we hit record? A lion doesn't have to say they're a lion. All they got to do is walk up. You know what the fuck? It's a lion. You ain't fucking with it. Period. A bear is a bear. We all know this. A duck is a duck. But if you are this God-fearing person and you are genuine in who you are, that would reflect in your conversations. That would reflect in what you do in your daily activities. That would reflect on simply as you walking through the grocery store and helping a random stranger. It just shows. It just like we were talking about a bit ago with the loneliness and the desperation. It spews from our pores. Everything we have inside, it shows and reflects on the outside. And when people are out here running around talk about they want these women that are traditional women and they're submissive and blah, blah, blah. First of all, sir, you're not even a traditional man yourself. So why the fuck do you deserve a traditional woman? And second of all, what fucking traditions are you talking about? Because traditions don't fucking exist anymore. We are literally sitting here creating new ones as we're in a new era. There's no traditions anymore, what you're expecting. And then these women, will you get the fuck off of your high horse? Like we're just now getting into the situation where we're able to get higher paying jobs. We're having more women getting higher educations and continuing educations. We're finally starting to make more. And y'all motherfuckers want to sit here and talk about, I need a 666 man and he ain't getting shit. Bitch, what the fuck are you trying to have this man buy you on a daily that he needs 6 fucking figures that you can't buy your goddamn self? What is wrong with y'all? Y'all sitting here wanting perfection and wanting all this and that, and you don't even have it your damn self.
No,
I have weed and a job in Disney movies, and I know he does too. And
I
that's
like the order of importance you went there. Weed, job, Disney movie. The top 3 things in life. That's it. I am entertained.
You know why? It shows we have character.
Yes, Disney's. Anyways, there's a couple things there. First off, I love the fact that you just had an entire argument with an image in your head of somebody you saw recently. I watched you just go from like you got all uppity real fast and it was just gone, which then tells me To those people on Spotify listening to us, thank you very much for doing it. I'd recommend you watch us on YouTube as well too, because we're an animated group of people, and definitely entertaining. I'd recommend doing that.
We're very beautiful too. I want to just throw that out. We're tens.
We're tens. Yes. Oh, my camera's out of focus. Hang on a second.
One is zero, baby. One is zero.
Guess who's the zero? I digress again.
It's because you're so plump and round. Come here, let me.
I know it's so plump and soft, and I need Viagra. Anywho,
I gotta tell y'all though, simple syrup gives like the most amazing hugs.
Somebody told me they're like, oh my god, I could disappear in this hug. I'm like, yeah. I don't know what to do with that. I'm not sure how
it's very nice. It's like you're a big giant teddy bear that just like pulls you in and just
who's not gonna eat you. Like, you know, no. I'm a bear that's cuddly.
You just get lost in the role. It's great. I love it. So cozy. Let me in there. Just hold me. Wrap your arms around me. I just need some cuddle time. These are my intentions.
This does not go in my Tinder profile because that doesn't work. I'm competing against men in their mid-40s who have 9-pack abs. I'm like, I'm cushiony. Come here.
Yeah, you're a cushion. I'm old. That hard shit won't work.
I'm old. Whenever they have a stroke from all the drugs they had to take to get that, I'll still be here, honey.
Right. All the muscles are uncomfortable. You can't like fluff that shit up and get your ears all up against your head. Like nobody wants to sleep like that.
Yeah, if you drool on that, it makes a river. If you drool on me, it just blah 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 blah. The perfection idea as well too, and that's where I really want to push on. I want to push on this one as well too, and this is where I'm going after Hallmark, because they are, I know some people think that they're just fun stories and they're heartwarming and Hallmark is to romance what Playboy is to women's lib, the complete opposite of reality. If you go to any kind of porn of any sort, softcore, hardcore, whatever core, the way women are depicted in there is not realistic to who they are as entities, as human beings. They are playing on an image, an ideal, a dream, if you will. And maybe it's not the dream of everyone, but it's the dream of someone, and they know they can monetize that. Hallmark does the same thing to romance and does the same thing to relationships. Yeah, they're not, somebody pointed out, why is every Hallmark movie that a small town girl goes to the city, gets a career, comes back for family, whatever, and then decides that she's only fulfilled if she stays there? Why doesn't the guy go along? Why doesn't the guy go back to the city? Or why can't they just enjoy one another for the time they're there and then go their separate ways? And every Hallmark movie is the same fucking script.
Yeah, just a different set. Just a different set. And I mean, the tree is probably like 2 feet that way. That's only different. And a different person pays, but it is, you're right. It's all the same. And then not only do they like have this false identity of the women in the movies, but it's also false on the men, because men are not like that in real life. Like, and because if women were really like that and men were really like that in life, if these were based on real seasonal love stories, which my preference would be real life stories based on true events, not this false shit. But the males, there would be better relationships. I don't feel as there would be as many single households as there are. I don't feel as though there would be more women walking away from relationships and saying, having this whole independent mentality. And I don't feel as though if men were really the way that they depict in Hallmark, there would be longer lasting marriages, because you're showing it's a grown up version of Disney. It's a fairy tale.
And prior to what Hallmark Channel is now, for a previous generation, it was, the Cleaver family from Leave It to Beaver. It was, it was a bunch of stereotypical, sociologically or societally appropriate relationships, you know, that were constructed. And a lot of times it wasn't. You know, I don't know if I've spoken to a single person who would have been a child when Leave It to Beaver was popular and was the model of what a family should be. I don't know of anybody who's lived that model where the dad, you know, it's not that there was a, you know, there was always a single income, like a dad would make the money, fine. But I have yet to hear of a family where the mother and the father interacted in that way, where, you know, it was often one was far more aggressive or absent or, you know, so
Mhm.
many other parts of it that I'm going, okay, we just like to tell ourselves stories, which is true. Human beings love stories. We've always loved stories. The problem is whenever we try to shape our lives to match an exact story, we miss the fact that we're supposed to be characters in our own stories. We're not supposed to be characters in somebody else's story. We're supposed to be in our own. And so and the other part of it too that I hate is in our culture in particular, we have monetized love. You know, lust leads to love and love leads to money. And the other thing is fear leads to money. But again, that's a whole nother. I'm trying not to go on a political rant right now. Just not political as in Republican, Democrat, but just societal. But the reason we bring all these up here right now as well, too, is I think we want our audience to be aware that these are the things that are going to be swirling around your head. These are the things that will be swirling around your families. And if you choose to get together with your family during the season, whether it be because you want to or you were guilted into it, inevitably, you are going to get asked the following question way too many fucking times. How are you doing?
I'm here, motherfucker. I'm here.
Yeah, it's I get the question. I get what they're trying to ask. I understand it. But they don't want that answer. Why? Because I don't know that answer sometimes. So the best I come up with is I'm breathing. I'm breathing. Some days I breathe
I'm just
better than
widowing.
others.
Feel free to say just widowing.
How are you
That's all you're
doing? Well, I ran a
doing.
marathon.
It's a seven
And
course meal.
yeah. And the temptation, it's even better like that. The temptation to have a relationship or to talk about a relationship as because that's more fun to talk about. That gets more interesting. It's far less awkward for people to ask how we're doing and to find out their relationships and to hear what matters to them and what matters to us is to get to know you. That's way more exciting and way more fun than it is to talk about the loss and the absence and the pain and the tears
Right.
and the uncertainty and the anxieties, because those are downers. And
Right.
especially for Thanksgiving, when we get together to talk about the things we're thankful for, which is ironic because then the next day for Black Friday, we run each other down to get the best deal at Walmart. But that's a whole nother, again, observation that makes no sense to me. It is easier to talk about a relationship and a person than it is to talk about ourselves sometimes. And if somebody asks you, are you dating anyone? If you're dating somebody, great. If you're not, then the answer is nope, not right now. Well, are you looking? I'm existing. And I don't think I want to talk about this anymore. You have every right to tell somebody you don't want to talk about something anymore. And if they
And
keep
here's my
digging,
thing with that, right? And
mhm,
it's like, it's really shitty to be in that situation where you lose somebody. Everybody sees you as this one person, and all of a sudden they don't see you as you anymore. You know,
mhm,
you're already trying to figure out who the fuck you are now, but then you got everybody else looking at you like, well, what are you going to do now? And asking all these questions. And here's my thing to that. And this is going to be very clear, clean and cutthroat, savage as fuck to any and all of my widows. If anybody asks you or tries to force you to visit family during the holidays, to get together during the holidays, and you really just do not feel up for it, don't fucking do it. Because your
correct.
sanity is more important than making your friends and family feel a certain way on the holidays. This is
Yep.
your holiday and your day just as much as it is for anybody. And unfortunately, it's so much different and it's not the same for you anymore. So don't allow others to continue to force their beliefs and their traditions onto you, because what is done in our lives individually. We were just talking about traditions last night in the group, and if we're creating new ones, you know, we're talking to our children if they want to do something different, if they want to continue on with the same things as when mom and dad were here and whatnot. And that's fair. And when it comes to also people asking you about, are you dating anybody? Are you seeing, that conversation shouldn't be any more, what's the word I'm looking for? Any more intrusive than it would for somebody who's not a widow. It should be the same conversation. It should be treated the same. And look, if I don't feel like talking about it, I don't feel like talking about it. Just because I'm a widow or anybody is a widow or widower doesn't mean that we are mandated to give answers to people. And I don't want anybody in this community to feel like you are mandated to give answers to anybody, explain yourself to anybody, or go along with the same traditions and shit that's been going on every year. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Well, and it also gets back to an identity question, which is also swirling in this conversation as well, too, is identity of who we are. And when we were talking earlier about you have to relearn yourself as you are relearning dating, what I'm talking about there is you have to know what your identity is, because your identity has shifted wildly. And your family and friends who knew you with your loved one are having to relearn you as well, too. I am keenly aware that the people who knew my wife and I as a couple, they sometimes struggle to interact with me, and I don't fault them for that. It's not their fault, because I don't know always who I am without her. I know they love me. I know my friends love me. I don't doubt that for a second. But I also recognize sometimes it can be really fucking awkward to know how to talk to me.
Yeah.
Because what do you say? Like, you know, it's one of those, they may have a complaint about their spouse, but then suddenly it looks kind of petty compared when you talk to somebody who suddenly lost their loved one. And so it's like they don't get that chance to commiserate. You don't get that chance to spend time together, to share together, because they're afraid they're going to offend me. Now, generally the people who I consider my friends know that you're not going, the only way that I'm ever offended is if they intentionally lie to me. That's the only thing that offends me. And you know, so they're often pretty able to talk with me about whatever's going on, but I know that sometimes it's difficult, and I recognize that. And so in trying to also recognize the new identity that you're experiencing, that you're discovering each day that you breathe, I want to also caution the flip side of what Amber just said about don't give in to the pressure of others to go to an event. Also, don't wallow. Don't be so mired in the abysmal victimhood of this experience that you do nothing, that you sit there and just hide, because that's also a problem. You know, those are the two very big realities, is giving in to the peer pressure or just hiding from everybody, not because I don't have the emotional energy, but because I don't want to. I can't. You know, and you don't, you're essentially picking that scab again and again, that wound again and again, and there will be no chance of that wound being closed. Maybe you don't want it to be. I get that. Maybe you don't want there to ever be a time where that wound of loss is covered over. I understand that. I can get that. I really can. But any wound we have, even when it's quote unquote healed, leaves a scar. And that scar is a testament to what you've survived, what you've done. But if you keep picking at it and you keep it open, and that's when you are more susceptible. That's also when you're easier prey.
I was
Which
just gonna
brings us,
say that opens you up to infection.
yeah.
If you want to continue on that Therefore, it opens you up to infection to allow yourself to continue. And, I'm going to backtrack a little bit before we skip, because you said very clearly, when you allow yourself to wallow in that, and it's almost like, okay, either you're just going to stay at home and, do nothing and not answer your phone. And that all that's doing is making the people around you worry more about you, for one. That's kind of just showing either A, you really are in a mental state where people need to know that you are okay and they really are trying to help you, or two, you're playing this victim mode. Because then that goes into also, there's ones, and we spoke about it, and this is not for everyone, but there is some out there who will allow the situation to become their badge, their identity, their mask, their everything of who they are. And sometimes there's those will go to family functions and events and, oh, well, what if this, and oh, the should be's, and oh, we could be doing this. Don't do that. You're opening up yourself. You're just picking out that scar. And then all you're doing, honestly, is pushing everybody else away. You're just creating a world of unhappiness and chaos, and you're creating your own destruction. It sucks. We lost our best friend. Life fucking goes on because we are still here. And unfortunately, like you said, you have to let those wounds heal. You have to let that trauma, you have to let it scab over. You have to let the itching go through. You got to keep it fucking medicated, the anti-itch cream or whatever. Keep it fucking clean. That's doing your work, your self-healing work. That's doing your journey. That's you regrowing yourself again, trying to figure out who are you now. But when you continue to try to live in who you were and what you did, that's like trying, I'm going to get graphic because this is how real it is. It's like trying to put the shit back up your butt. It don't work.
Yeah. Or maybe a less graphic one is trying to put the toothpaste back into the tube. Or
like
putting the shit back in the butthole. Whatever.
Whatever it is, like you can't fit square things into circles or circle things into whatever.
The other phrase I often use is you can't unring a bell. Once it's rung, it's rung. That's it. That sound is out.
Yeah. That's that. The clouds don't pull the water back up. It falls. That's it. I heard something beautiful today, and it said, it was from Maya Angelou, and she was in an interview, and
I saw that post.
Did you see it? She told him all the clouds lose their water. Something like that, along those lines. And it just goes to show
every storm runs out of rain or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And it goes to show. And then what happens after that? You got a clear canvas, everything's smelling good, looking really pretty, everything's fresh and all that stuff. And if people would keep that metaphor for themselves, you're gonna go through trials and tribulations, man. That's just a part of the experience. That's just a part of it. It's all about how are you going to walk the rest of your path with those experiences. Are you going to be a victim of it, or are you going to be like, hey, this is what I learned from it?
And I think that's one of the things we wanted to make sure that our audience heard today, at least as I was getting into this as well too. And I think, Amber, you were alluded to it, is this season, there are some quick aids to make you feel better about yourself. There are some quick, if you feel bad, it's okay. You can go do this. If you feel lonely, just go get a relationship. I'm sure we could find one. Doesn't mean it's a good one, but we could find one, go do all these things. And so that will suddenly make everything all better.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. And some of the temptations of things that are around us, the things that make life difficult, not just the Hallmark movies, but definitely the Hallmark movies, the not just the family guilt complex, but definitely a family guilt complex is part of it. Not just the sense that everybody else seems to be happy, but definitely that's part of it too. You put all those together, there's a huge push that you can say, well, I could just lose myself in this. Don't do that. That's not going to help you. And if you're a parent, you're going, I don't want to say you're going to, there's a high chance you're going to do more damage to your kids if you just go down that quick route.
Absolutely, because all they're doing is watching you and they're gonna mimic that. So
Is
you're
that, yeah.
creating it for
Hmm.
yourself and them. Yeah, you're just gonna
Hmm.
perpetuate that. Don't do that.
Yeah. And so I'm feeling that we're coming to a good spot here. I don't want to shut that down if there's more than you want to say, but I felt that this was a good, not buffer, because I'm going to put this episode up a little bit earlier than normal because I want this to go out before Thanksgiving hits for people. Because I think there's something to be said here, and I think it'd be a nice reminder for people as they are really trying to navigate what to do for the holidays. That this is a good idea to hear, not because we're sages, but we are. But it's because sometimes you need somebody who loves you enough to remind you of a hard truth. And we're not saying these things to you to guilt you, to make it more complicated, to make life difficult. It's not that we want to see you unhappy. We want to see you fulfilled, and to
Yeah.
and to just jump into a relationship now because the season seems to necessitate it, or everybody else seems to be in it. That's not fulfillment.
Yeah, right now is like the most important time to use your discernment more than any. Like I just with everything going on, especially like let's just start with social media, right? The first thing that's gonna open you up to that infection is, let's just be real, having widow as your status on your Facebook or any social
Mm-hmm.
media. That's gonna open you up right away. Um, Posting, and this is just personal for each individual. I personally don't post up my kids a lot, just because it is known that I'm a solo mother and there's some fucking weirdos out there, and I don't want that attention on my kids, because for the simple fact of any, and this goes for females too, there's female scammers, there's male scammers, there's just weirdo people. Okay, I'm speaking this in general, that for, and this goes for men and women vice versa, that when you're on social media and you're posting your personal stuff like that, that opens up and it's telling the world, like, this is what you have, this is what you don't have. This is when you're posting stuff. If I were to post pictures of just me and my kids all the time, people are going to start taking notice that there's no man in our photos. There's nobody else like really ever around us. It's just us. So any fucking weirdo out there could do their little hacker shit, end up finding us and stalking us. I don't know. They could sit here and play this, oh, I want to get to know you game. And I've heard it. I see you're a strong mother. You're a very smart woman. You're beautiful. They play all this stuff, and it's like great. But once you start asking and being honest with yourself, using that discernment, like, what is this person really here for? And you start asking those questions, that's when you're able to start seeing, like, oh shit, okay, I'm kind of in my feelings right now. Let me not let the look of this person get me because I'm attracted to them. All the words that are saying sound really nice. Really put some fun, and I'm gonna be honest, trick them a little bit. Throw their thought process off. And it's just honest, like it's real stuff, and this is real shit, especially right now during these times, because like a lot of people, and for our widows that are just coming into on this ride, you're gonna have this target on your back that people just think the widow just get a big ass check as soon as their fucking spouse passes. That's not the case. Like that's not reality for a lot of us, and even if we do, it's not a lot. Like, so it's just that alone. So it's just really be aware of what people are telling you versus their actions. How fast are they telling you certain things? How quickly are they trying to make plans with you? Because, oh, well, what? Oh, you want to go shopping? Oh, it's Christmas time. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, I forgot my wallet. Oh, my card is declining. You're over here buying $200 pair of 10 and a half fucking Jordans, or you're over here buying all these fancy hair and fucking nails and dresses, whatever it is that y'all out here doing for all these people that are running all this muck up and down your yard. Like, you have to have that discernment, especially. And I feel like I'm gonna go out on a protection mode, but I'm gonna speak specifically directed to the widows, because as women, we are emotional. We are very emotional, and I mean everybody's emotional. But when we're in a situation like this, the first 1 to 2 years, I've seen it in our own group. Some of our women are a year out, not even a full year, haven't even hit that 8-month mark. And they're already trying to jump into another relationship because this man understands and this man said all the right things. And then 2-3 months later, they're broken and crying again because, oh, well, they felt like they were competing with a ghost. Oh, well, come to find out, they just wanted to take a weekend vacation and I paid for it all. You know what I mean? So it's like now is more in time. If anything, now is not the time to be thinking about relationships. If you're going to think about a relationship, think about one with yourself. Now is the time, because and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again and again and again. In those times of, I feel so lonely, I'm lonely. One, you have to know the difference. Are you lonely or do you feel alone? Because there's a big fucking difference. I could be sitting here right now, my kids in the house, and I'm like, God damn it, I'm lonely as shit. I need an adult conversation. I just need a hand to hold. Just, where's Lee? I just need a big cuddle fucking teddy bear hug right now, something, right? But then there's also like, I'm lonely. Maybe I'm just bored. Maybe I need to sit with myself and figure out what I need. I am something. My soul, my spirit is like, hey, bitch, can we get together, please? Like, I miss you. We need to figure out our next move. What are we going to do next? Not what next dick can I get on? What next hole can I jump in? That's not where that's where society's brains are. Let's just, sorry, I know it's a lot today. It's okay though. It's coming to the end of the year. We gotta let it all off. Coming into 2024, we're not doing none of this bullshit. No more of this gender role. Women do this and men do that. This is why nothing is working, because everybody's caught up, too busy trying to tell other people what to do, and y'all ain't even doing nothing your fucking self. How do you expect other people to do something you ain't doing nothing your damn self? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Your math ain't mathing, people. We gotta redo our human math because it's not working.
I would say and I think that the human math is, instead of treating people as a job, instead of treating people as a role, we treat them as humans. And that's an ongoing thing that I think we as a society need to work on. And I think that starts with us. How many times do we as individuals assume or expect ourselves to do the impossible, to be everything to everyone, to be both mother and father if we have children and they've lost someone, or that we're supposed to be the perfect wife, the perfect husband, the perfect friend, the perfect parent? And this gets back to that perfect phrase. Again, that doesn't exist.
We need to lose perfect from our vocabulary.
Yes, perfection does not exist. And the moment we accept that,
we could rebuttal that and say everything is already perfect as it is.
Yeah, but we can't say that, can we?
No? Are you sure? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried. Sure I tried for my optimistic people. I tried. Try to see that glass is more full than halfway.
As one who usually is optimistic, nah, I can't. I can't ride on that one. Sorry, hon. I wish I could. I can't. And I think that's what we want you as our listeners to hear. Give yourself the grace to be you. Don't try to be perfect. Don't look for perfect. Be you. And if you're wounded still, you probably are needing to give yourself a break. If you have the scars to show, and maybe you are ready to date again, I don't know. But don't do it out of fear. Don't do it because you don't want to die alone. Don't do it because you're afraid nobody will find you if you die, or the macabre realities that we use to justify piss poor decisions. If you decide to get in a relationship, be in a relationship with somebody who values you as a human, not you as an object, not you as a role, not you as a hot piece of ass, not you as anything other than you. And they don't see you until you've trusted them enough to show them yourself. And if you think that they know you within a 3-month period, I have my doubts. However, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am this time.
And FYI, we all die, aka transition alone. Like whether you're married and that person is right next to you, guess what? They're not dying with you and then coming back. You're doing it by yourself.
Which leads to this sentence. The Notebook was not a biography. The Notebook was not a History Channel exclusive. Because in the end, those two couples that fought, that couple that fought the whole time throughout that entire movie, they died together, which is sweet and endearing. And it sold billions of books. And it helped me understand that Ryan Gosling's a damn good looking human being. I'm not going to knock that movie. Ryan Gosling. Oh, he's got a look. I get it. I get it. I'm like, he's not on my list, but I can get why he's on some lists. But to that end, that's not a biography. That's not a real story. Yes, it's a beautiful story. And we as humans love stories. They help shape our realities, our narratives, where we want to go, who we want to be, what we want to leave behind. But don't be a character in somebody else's story. Be in your own. So that way, whenever another character shows up, it becomes your story with them, not you being co-opted into somebody else's.
Absolutely. We'll get
And
there. That's humans. We all, here's the thing. I'm very confused on humans because I feel like it's so simple, yet we complicate it. Keep
talking.
Everything.
I'm going to use the bathroom real quick. Keep talking, but I'm going to turn off so people don't see my ass wiggle out. But I'll be right back.
This isn't be awkward, but okay. My thing is with people, I feel as though we complicate a lot. And when it comes to relationships and this perfectionism that we're all striving for, I don't understand because at the end of the day, our basic human needs are all in resemblance. We all want that companionship. We all want understanding. We all want friendship. We all want guidance. We all want support, love, genuine conversations. You name it, anything that's of love and light and positivity, we want it. And for whatever reason, I guess maybe is why I'm confused, is humans tend to be, we're addicted to the chaos, we're addicted to confusion. It's like we love the drama. And it's almost as though this is created because everybody is looking for perfectionism. Everybody has their own way of what it should be, but it's not that way. Like we could want things a certain way, but that doesn't mean it should be that way just because you prefer it. Because you can prefer something, wind up with it, and realize, oh shit, this isn't for me. And it goes the same for people.
And I think you actually stumbled onto a point there that so every time before I play soccer, I stretch. I try to keep my body limber, but I also recognize that the way I was stretching was based on when I was a 17-year-old using things that I learned then that might not necessarily work for who I am as a 42-year-old. So I found a thing called Stretch Lab, which has actually been working to teach me different ways to stretch and, demonstrating it. And I found I move much better now than I did even 5 years ago. And I don't have as much pain afterwards, because I went to somebody who helped me see something different. I often wonder, I wish we had like a relationship stretch lab where before you go and do this big relationship, somebody who just kind of helps you reflect a little bit differently. And oh, wait, that's called a therapist, maybe, where it's somebody who points out the fact that who you were when you were first dating is not the person you are now. So maybe you need to push past that idea or just let that idea go and instead focus on being able to use who you are now. The person who has been working with me now for the better part of a couple months in that time, I already have more mobility. I already have less pain after games. I already feel better because I'm able to move, and I knew I needed to ask for help. Because yes, I could watch all the YouTube videos I wanted, but I needed somebody to help show me. And so I often wonder, sometimes I'm like, the whole girlfriend, boyfriend dating experience, I wonder if maybe we should have like those for people right before they go on a really big date that they're really excited for. So you don't go in and, okay, the movie There's Something About Mary, where Ben Stiller's character went to crank one out before he went on the date so he wouldn't be nervous. You almost need somebody to help kind of clear yourself out there just to get so you're not going in with all that pressure. I recognize that sounds a lot like prostitution to a degree. And it's really weird to have a pastor suggest that. It's not altogether awkwardly inappropriate, but there is something to be said about
I'm for it. I'm here for it.
Just having that
it's reality when a pastor's telling you some shit like that. It's real.
I mean, I don't think that I don't know how it feels like there should be something like that to help clear our minds out a little bit, to give our chance, so we're not putting the cart before the horse, so we're not forcing something onto a potential relationship before it develops on its own. And then spinning it back to the garden thing that you said earlier, not to eat vegetables until they're ripe. If you eat them before they're ready, they don't taste right, they're not nearly as delicious, and you're far less likely to eat them again. You gotta let them ripen before you can eat them. I think I'm pretty comfortable.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines from here, I'm gonna end it with two things. Queen Irby, in one of her songs, she says, you have to get the roots before you get the fruit.
Yep.
Plain and simple. Like, it doesn't get any more clear than that.
Yeah.
If you don't understand anything, you just sit with that one for a little while, okay? It's the same thing as the seeds, and it probably goes before, because you got plant the seeds before you get the roots to get to the fruit, really. And then the second thing is the rear view mirror is smaller than your windshield for a reason.
Oh, is it Jelly Roll who said that?
I don't know. I did hear it in a song.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Jelly Roll. I did hear it from another song called Moving On. I don't think that guy's name was Jelly Roll though.
Or whoever it was, but it was. Look here. Rear view mirror.
I know I got the idea. I don't know if it was word for word, but I got the idea from that song. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. I'll be moving on.
I just saw this the other day too, so and it might be like one of those isms, like those mom isms, dad isms that's just kind of gone through, throughout time. But it did recently come up, I heard as well too. But anyways.
Yeah, you had said something that like every now and then, like I always like to use that, but especially when people like trigger that, and something you had said triggered that. And it was, people, we get so focused and caught up about the past and how it used to be and what I used to be like and what I like. You're looking at something that's small, that's no longer meant to be there. In life, we're meant to go forward, we're meant to continue on forward, regardless of the situations and occurrences that happen. We're meant to continue going forward. That's why that line is so fucking powerful, because if you really think about it and you place yourself in that situation, if you just close your eyes for a minute and you place yourself in a car and you're looking at your problems, let's use the road as your problems, right? The one in the rearview mirror, those are all your life's memories, your scars, your wounds, all your issues, your problems that you're either trying to run from or fix and learn, right? And then you have the windshield in front of you, and it's just so gigantic in front of you right there. Yet you can see so much, but yet you can't see it. And the only way to see it and get closer is to continue going forward. Because if you're going this way, but your car's going this way, you're gonna crash.
Mhm.
We don't drive backwards. We drive forward. We gotta go. We gotta keep going. That's the whole point of this experience. And I wish people would just kind of think of things like that a little bit more of things happen, because if we always have the what, like that song, back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. You know, we all wish, like, oh, fucking the 90s, hell yeah. Dude, if I could find a 90s love, I'd be happy, right? But that shit doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't fucking exist. So why am I going to sit here looking in the rearview mirror trying to find that again when it's only getting smaller? It doesn't make any sense. The math.
Did you say amen?
I said the math, but
Oh, the
amen.
math. It sounded like you said amen. I'm like, that's a great ending, but I can't.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Oh, Jesus. Jesus Christ.
This is what Lee works with. Ain't it fun?
Folks, as I'm going to work to try to get this out quickly for us, I hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving in whatever form you do it. And that as you enter into this time of family and seasonal interactions and relationships, and widowhood is not all about dating, but relationships are often so much how we've been identified that we feel like we need to make sure we take time to talk about that with you. And I hope that in our conversations today and previous episodes that you find something to help you take that next step. And again, I want to remind you, especially now, 988, that 988 is your best friend if you're feeling like you have nothing. If you're feeling like you just want the pain to end, please dial 988 send. Please do that for us, for yourself, and for those who love you. Have a great holiday, folks. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy Thanksgiving. Gobble, gobble.
Peace.